Okay, so get ready because we are diving into a huge topic today.
Huge, is right?
Intelligence.
Yeah.
You guys have sent us this paper on the measure of intelligence.
Lots to unpack there.
It's dense.
It is.
We're going to break down all the good stuff.
Yeah.
But this is not going to be your average, psych lecture. Okay, this is, we're talking AI, we're talking evolution, even a little bit of philosophy.
Right.
Because it turns out defining intelligence,
Yeah.
way more complex than just acing a test.
It really is. And this paper, I think, jumps right into that. It challenges the way we even think about intelligence.
Yeah, we're obsessed with AI beating humans at games.
Right.
And it's oh, that means it's the pinnacle of brain power, right?
Exactly.
But this paper is hold on, maybe that's just a very specific skill.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily equal intelligence.
It's like the difference between a parrot mimicking human speech.
Okay.
And a human actually understanding language.
Oh, it's good. Yeah.
So the parrot can sound really impressive.
Right.
But it's not really thinking.
It's just a crystallized skill.
Exactly.
It can do that one thing.
Yeah.
But it can't generalize. It can't take that skill and apply it to new situations.
And I think that's what they're arguing has been missing from a lot of AI, is that it's been this very slow climb towards doing more and more impressive things.
Right.
But not necessarily being able to handle anything new.
Right. And they talk about the history of AI and how we've been kind of stuck in this pattern of just throwing more data at the problem and hoping for the best.
Yeah, if we just make the data set bigger,
yeah,
then suddenly it'll be intelligent.
It would just figure it out.
Yeah.
And they have this great analogy with the hash table.
Yeah.
Which is I don't know if everyone listening is super familiar with that.
A little jargony.
It's a little jargony.
Yeah.
But think of it like spam filters.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so your spam filter,
yeah,
you give it all these examples of spam, and it gets really good at spotting that very specific spam. Right. But then a spammer comes along and changes one word, and suddenly your spam filter is I don't know what this is.
Useless.
Because it hasn't actually learned the concept of what makes an email spammy.
Yeah.
It's just memorized a bunch of patterns.
It's just memorized a bunch of examples, and that's all it can do.
Yeah, it's you taught it to fish, but only in this one very specific spot with this one very specific lure.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's where things get interesting because human intelligence, flawed as it is,
right,
seems to be much better at adapting to those new situations.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, where we start to see the limitations of focusing solely on skill as a measure of intelligence. It's not the whole picture.
So we've said, being a master at Go or chess or whatever doesn't automatically make you the Einstein of intelligence.
Yeah.
But then that kind of makes you wonder, how smart are humans?
Right.
You know what I mean? Are we actually on this path to building AI that's going to outthink us on every level?
Yeah. Well, that's where this paper gets, I think, really philosophical.
Yeah.
And it basically says that universal intelligence may just not even be a thing.
Okay.
Even humans, as adaptable as we are, have limits.
Right. And those limits come from, how our brains evolved, right?
Absolutely.
We're good at certain things because those skills helped us survive on the savannah however many thousands of years ago.
Exactly.
But that also means we're really bad at other things.
Yeah.
It's we get a starter pack of skills.
Right.
And that kind of determines what we're going to be good at.
Totally. The paper uses this really interesting example of our bodies and how they evolved for a very specific environment.
Right.
But they're surprisingly capable of things like swimming.
Okay.
Like going to space.
Yeah. We were not meant to go to space.
No, not at all. But we can do it.
We figured it out.
We adapted.
Yeah.
So we can adapt, but it always happens within these boundaries.
So it's not that we're universally intelligent. It's that we're really good at learning new things that kind of fit within this framework of stuff humans have always done.
Totally.
Recognizing patterns.
Right.
Building tools, understanding each other.
And then I think the paper also makes this point that what we even consider intelligent is often based on how similar it is to us.
Okay.
Which is...
So we're biased.
It's totally biased.
We think if it's like us, it must be smart.
Exactly. Think about octopuses.
Oh, yeah, they're super smart.
They are so smart they can solve problems. They can use tools. They can camouflage themselves.
That's crazy.
But because they're so different from us, it took us so long to even recognize that.
That's true.
That they were intelligent.
Wow.
So I think this paper is pushing us to move past this idea of one single definition of intelligence.
Okay.
And instead focus on how different systems, AI included, can be intelligent in their own unique ways.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But then, if we're not looking looking for one measure of intelligence. How do we even, like, begin to define and measure this thing
Yeah.
in a way that, like, actually means something?
Right.
Because clearly just being good at chess isn't going to cut it.
And this is where I think things get really interesting, is
Right.
the paper proposes a formal definition of intelligence based on something called algorithmic information theory.
Okay, now we're getting into the weeds a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think we
Break it down.
can break it down.
Yeah.
So essentially, it boils down to how efficiently a system learns new skills given its existing knowledge and experiences.
Okay, so it's not just about what a system can learn.
Right.
It's about, like, how fast and how easily it picks up on new skills.
Exactly. And they introduce this idea of generalization difficulty, which basically measures how much a system has to adapt to solve a new problem compared to things it already understands.
Okay, so, like, remember that spam filter we were talking about?
Yes.
That has very low generalization difficulty. Because it's not really adapting or generalizing at all. It's just spitting back information it's already been fed.
Exactly.
But if you think about a human learning a new language, that's high generalization difficulty.
Right.
Because our brains are, like, making all these new connections and adapting to these new rules and vocabulary.
Totally. And so a more intelligent system would be able to learn those really difficult things more quickly and easily than a less intelligent one. And then the paper also talks about the importance of priors. Meaning all of the stuff a system already knows going in. Right? So if you hand a system a bunch of pre-programmed knowledge, that's not really proving its intelligence. It's just cheating off of a really good study guide.
It's like you gave it all the answers beforehand.
Exactly. And so to test intelligence, you need to kind of make sure everyone is starting with the same amount of prior knowledge and then see how they perform from there.
So it's like an even playing field for brains.
Exactly. And to do that, the authors have actually come up with this really interesting benchmark that they call ARC, Abstraction and Reasoning Corpus.
Okay, so it's like a it's like a test.
Right. It's like an IQ test for AI.
Okay.
Basically, it uses these grids of colored symbols, kind of like visual puzzles. And the AI has to figure out the underlying rules to then solve new puzzles it's never seen before.
So it can't just be like pattern recognition. You know, it has to actually, like, understand the logic.
It has to understand the logic.
To apply to something new.
Exactly. And here's, I think, what makes ARC so interesting is that the tasks rely on what we call core knowledge.
Core knowledge, So
these are things that, like, humans kind of take for granted about the world.
Give me an example. What kind of core knowledge?
So, like, recognizing objects. Understanding basic physics. Knowing how to count. Knowing that, like, one thing is a different shape than another thing.
Yeah, like stuff you learn when you're, like, a tiny baby, basically.
Yeah, and, like, we don't even think about it. It's just, like, how our brains are wired. But for a machine to be able to grasp that is incredibly complicated. And so the authors of this paper basically say that if we can build an AI that can ace ARC, meaning it can solve these, like, abstract visual puzzles based on the same core knowledge that humans have, then we'd be much closer to creating something that is truly intelligent.
So that's, like, the challenge.
That's the challenge.
That's the benchmark.
Yeah, like, forget about
chess anymore.
It's about can you
do this?
Can you understand the world?
Can you see the world the way we see it?
The way that we see it.
And then, like, make decisions and problem solve based on that.
Exactly.
Okay. Fascinating stuff. What does this all mean?
What does this mean?
For the average person listening, who's like, I'm not building a super intelligence over here. I'm just trying to, like, live my life.
I think the big takeaway is that the next time you see a headline about AI, like, outperforming humans at something.
Which happens, like, every week.
Every other day at this point. Don't just be impressed by the results. Think about how it got there.
How did it get there?
Did it actually learn and adapt to win? Or was it more like that spam filter we talked about that just memorized a bunch of patterns? Because according to this paper, that's the difference between real intelligence and just impressive programming.
So it's not just about the what, it's the how.
It's the how.
I like that. Yeah.
And with ARC out there, it'll be really fascinating to see what kind of AI emerges.
Can we actually get to that point?
Yeah, can we get to that point?
Where something is, like, actually thinking?
Yeah. Is it even possible?
Wow.
It really pushes the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
It really makes you think about the nature of intelligence itself.
Totally.
What do you think out there?
What do you think?
Do you think we can build a machine that truly thinks like a human?
Let us know.
Let us know. That is fascinating stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For taking us on this journey.
This has been fun.
Into the world of intelligence.
Yes.
Always a line-bending journey.
Always.
With this stuff.